Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Param. Om Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. So we are back here with our Mr. Maya Panchadasi, second chapter. We begin today from verse 54. Maya does not hide awareness. Yeah? And Lynn, you said you have an inquiry question?
Yeah, I do. I apologize, my cat caterwauled in the background, but I wanted, if so far one conclusion I've come to, I want to check with you. So Maya and Brahman are inseparable, and yet there's no contact.
Yeah.
That is profound. Trying to wrap my head about that one. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Maya is a certain power, as we say now, with the potential to create and conceal its own very source, which is consciousness, awareness. It projects, creates, and then it conceals by superimposed duality. So where is this Maya coming from? It's not part of awareness, but it's not apart from awareness at the same time. So there is no contact, but yet everything resolves itself in consciousness. So it's easy for us to understand when we bring into the equation the fact that the Maya is mithya. So Maya is an apparent order of reality that will never really make contact with Satya. You understand? So there is no way mithya can contact Maya because they belong to two different orders. One is real and another is just an appearance. So Maya is related to consciousness because without conscious existence, not even a slight power could come into play, into existence. So everything exists in consciousness, but everything exists in consciousness as a mirage. You understand? Yeah, mirage, the water of the mirage never touches the sand. Does it? No, it appears to touch. So what was your beautiful statement? Again, repeat because it was very nice.
The kind of impossible putting together in your intellect, understanding that they are inseparable without contact.
Yeah, there's no contact. They are not contact because
it's like outside space and time that relate, whatever it is, if it's not a relationship.
The easiest analogy to understand your very statement is to remember the mirage, which appears to be in contact with the sand, but in fact there is no contact because one is reality and the other is just a superimposition or appearance or projection. So everything is resolved in consciousness, and Maya is resolved in consciousness. But Maya is the seed of mithya, so it is already integral part of mithya. You understand? And then from Maya comes Ishvara, Jivan, Jagat, or from Maya comes the three energies and the five subtle elements. So all of that is mithya. So it's difficult to talk about Maya because Maya is the most subtle factor within mithya. So it's already difficult for most people, excuse me just for a moment, I'm getting cold here. it's difficult. It's already difficult for people to wrap their mind around the concept of Ishvara, because Ishvara, we can present it as a superconscious computer or superconscious, self-conscious entity made out of pure knowledge intelligence, pure sattva. So, and then we can help people to understand God from that angle, I mean, by pointing to the fact that everything here is intelligently designed and maintained. So Ishvara can only be pure knowledge. So, but it's already difficult for people to understand Ishvara as the creator, the intelligent cause of the universe. But Maya is even more, because Maya is the fundamental, potential of Ishvara, the seed of Ishvara, and Ishvara is something that comes out of this Maya that has two aspects to itself, energy and prakriti. So it is part energy and it's part matter, and it exists now with its power to project and to conceal, vikshepa and avarana. So it is difficult to understand Maya as the cause of the universe, okay? Because it is the most subtle principle, and it is more difficult to understand Maya, as I said last week. It's more difficult objectively to understand Maya than to understand awareness, which is even subtler than Maya. And why it's more difficult to understand Maya than it is to understand awareness? Because in order to understand awareness, I just need to understand my very nature, because I am awareness. So if I understand that, and then I understood awareness, but to understand Maya, it objectively, although the understanding of awareness is not objective, it's subjective, as my very absolute subjectivity. So, but it's easier because we can directly, immediately realize awareness as our very nature, but Maya remains a mystery, difficult to be understood intellectually. And at the same time, we cannot say, "Oh, I understood, I am Maya." No, that's not going to stick. I have a direct realization here. I am Mr. Maya. All right. Okay, we go back here. It says that Maya does not hide awareness. It says that Maya does hide awareness, but we know from different angles that Maya cannot hide awareness, because Maya has an effect of a minimal aspect of limitless awareness. Awareness has no borders, and Maya has an effect only on small fraction of awareness, and and how we know that? We can observe that fact easily, because likewise, when we suffer from avidya, we suffer from avidya, but not all the time. You understand? So there are some moments, like in deep sleep, that our conscious existence is covered up or is concealed by avidya. And but in other moments, so we are alert, we are conscious. So likewise, Maya, which is another aspect, is the macrocosm aspect of avidya. Maya, it's not really going to conceal consciousness, meaning to say it's not going to superimpose names, colors, and forms all over consciousness. You understand? Because consciousness is limitless. and Maya is limited, okay? Because Maya is part of this apparent order of reality. Although it is beginningless, but to be beginningless is not a big deal. The Jiva, the eternal Jiva, is beginningless, and the fact of being beginningless does not cancel its limiting aspect. So Maya does not really hide awareness. The power of the earth to produce parts and other objects of Agila does not apply everywhere on the earth, but only on those surfaces of the planet on which Agila is available. This is a nice analogy. So likewise, so we have the planets, just some small parts we can really do some objects of Agila. The same way, so there are some aspects, let's say, of limitless awareness on which Maya somehow managed to superimpose and produce the appearance of the three gunas and the five elements that grossify to become these complex configurations that somehow seemingly hides consciousness, but we know it does not cover, it does not touch consciousness, and much less hide it. So Maya does not operate on the whole of the self, but just a small fraction of it. Maya does not cover awareness. We know that. Awareness is always there. I was presenting the other example on the micro level of the Jiva. So when we're in deep sleep, it seems that our conscious existence was concealed, but it's just a question of changing our mental state, and then the deep sleeper becomes a dreamer or a waker, and immediately awareness shines. The reflect awareness shines in the human intellect again on those other two states. So it does not really covers or conceals. It does not conceal awareness, but only small fractions or parts or moments. This statement challenged the world of yoga, the yoga idea that Maya covers the self, and that in order to obtain self-knowledge, the yogi must physically remove or transcend all the layers of Maya. So Maya here is presented as layers of thoughts. Thoughts apparently veil awareness. So from the standpoint of the yogis, we have consciousness, which is pure, it is free of modifications. There are no thoughts appearing, there are nothing modifying consciousness. It's just there. And then thoughts come into the play. And then it's said that the thoughts are veiling pure consciousness. Isn't it the idea, Claudio? You have deep meditation, and then awareness is there, and we get the impression that consciousness is pure and free. And then the moment that an object or a thought about the object, or any sort of object, emotional object that comes with a thought as well, anything comes into place, and then we have the impression that that is concealing awareness. Oh my God, I was here, enjoy seeing my awareness, and now I see a thought. The thought is replacing my empty mind. But no, the empty mind, the silent mind, it's not affected by thoughts. As we know, it remains free and independent. So those aspects that is presented as Maya. Maya produces thoughts. Maya produce the configuration of objects, and then when the object comes, and then consciousness somehow identifies with the object, and then forgets itself. That's the idea, appearing as a Jivatma. So now this Maya there manifests the thoughts are going to veil consciousness, to hide consciousness, hide the silence, this pure reflection of consciousness on a scientific mind. And then the yogis believe that they need to remove all layers of the world, all layers of thoughts. Okay, so it's layers and layers and vasanas and more vasanas until the mind is really so clear, so polished, so reflective that you live for the rest of your life in nirvikalpa samadhi, let's say. So that is the idea of the yogis that believe that Maya covers the self. So Vedanta says that Maya does not cover the self. If anything, it may apparently cover small aspects of the self, or in certain moments may cover the self. But the self is vast, is limitless, and those superimpositions, mean to say thoughts and objects, they are part of this space-time structure that is something limited and especially limit as well. So it's not there all the time. The belief that the self is hidden is only possible because the self is not hidden. So if there is a belief that the self is hidden by thought, by Maya's thoughts, they believe that the self is hidden by Maya's thought, is only considered, only comes into play within consciousness, because consciousness has to be there to bring up this notion that consciousness is being hidden by thought. So they believe the idea, the notion that thoughts, Maya, covers and hides consciousness is happening within the light of awareness. Therefore, awareness, being all the time the illuminator of all objects, is now illuminating this notion that awareness is covered by thoughts. So nothing escapes awareness, as we often say. The belief that the self is hidden by thought is only possible because the self is there illuminating the belief that, now I have lost myself, right? Is the self is there shining and revealing this. Yes, Lynn.
So basically their argument, their argument denies the possibility of a witness, doesn't it? Because witness is there, what to witness? The thoughts, the objects.
Yeah.
So they don't believe in witnessing, really.
Yeah, so they don't. Yeah, it seems that they don't. I don't know what they think. They are fixated with this experience of emptiness, of nothingness, of no mind, and so on. And any thought, anything that appears for them, it's a disturbance. But this is a notion that happens within awareness. And awareness can be said to be the subject non-experiencing witnessing principle. Is the subject non-experiencing witnessing principle. It becomes a subject witnessing, experience witnessing principle as the pure intellect. To the pure intellect, it becomes the witness experiencing entity. So the point here is that nothing escapes the light of the illuminator. If there is a belief that there is a vasana or several vasanas obstructing consciousness, that is happening within the light of consciousness. Do you understand that point, Lynn? Yeah? Nothing exists outside of consciousness. The self is apparently covered because the jiva's attention is riveted, is deviated, or channeled?
Riveted.
Huh?
A rivet's a little, like a screw-like thing which joins two pieces of metal together. So riveted means joined together.
Okay. Connected. More or less connected.
Yeah, more or less connected.
Yeah.
See.
Okay, the self is apparent covered because the jiva's attention is connected on its apparent clothes, meaning to say the 5 sheets and so on, and not on its own nature as the observer, the witnessing principle, the witnesser of the 5 sheets and so on, the gunas and so on. So the self is apparent covered because jiva, first consciousness is identified as the instrument of knowledge, experience. So the jiva believes that he is the instrument. He does not understand that he is consciousness. So believing that I am the instrument, this instrument, it somehow, it directs its attention to Maya, to the thoughts, to the objects, because everything that appears within these 5 sense organs in the mind, it somehow grabs our attention, and we tend to neglect the light of consciousness that is shedding attention, conscious attention on some phenomenal object. So the attention of the jiva is what gives us the impression that consciousness is being hidden, but it's basically it's being overlooked or neglected. So lately I have been using this word neglected because when you neglect something is there, it's getting no attention whatsoever, and it comes to a point that the thing say, oh, nobody loves me. Of course, consciousness is not going to feel that way because it's not an experiencing entity, but Papaji used to put it on those terms. People used to have some nice epiphanies with Papaji. And then they would say, hey, Papaji, I got it. I am limitless, the self. And then they were declared enlightened. We used to celebrate a little bit, and the person was putting on the pedestal. And I used to look and say, let's see how long it's going to last. And then after some time, the person will go back there and he used to complain to Papaji, I lost it. And Papaji used to say, you lost it because, you instead of hugging and kissing your most beloved, which is your true nature, you begin celebrating that you met your most beloved. And then next thing you start going to the pub to drink more and more and more until your beloved staying home, got fed up and say, I'm going to leave this guy. I'm going to leave this girl, So he used to put on those terms. So if we don't give our attention to our nature, because we are ignorant about that, we are not familiarized with it, we haven't got in contact with the Upanishads, this body of knowledge presents to us our true identity as our conscious existence, the light of consciousness existence. So if we are not subtle enough to understand that or to come to that level of understanding, we are not going to even come close to have not even an experience of, now I got to see my true self. And then later on, I may say, oh my God, I neglect it again. So we neglect it because we are not familiarized with it. We neglect it because nobody has ever pointed out to us, but until we come to the Upanishads, of course. The verse 55, scripture makes the following statements. Creation is only a small fraction of the vast limitlessness of awareness. The remainder is self-revealing. It does not depend on Maya to reveal itself. The world is sustained. Huh?
Can I ask a question about what we say? Because what you just say about Papaji, but there is some truth on that, because in somehow you have to fall in love with with Brahman, no? So you have to have a mind that puts his attention in a certain way constantly to Satya and not to Mithya. So we know, of course, that is the mind that loses the contact with Brahman. It's not we are always ever present, but there is some truth on that. This is maybe the devotional part, no, of Vedanta.
Yeah, definitely, totally. Devotion is there through all the yogas, all the disciplines, all the sadhanas. So it has to be there. So we have generally speaking, people have the love directed to objects, to the world, including the physical body. So our love goes to those things. So love, we see where our attention goes, where our attention goes to where we appreciate, most cases, mostly, and wherever it goes, it's what we love. And people love matter, love the objects. Everybody is totally direct towards the world of objects. And then Vedanta comes and says, if you want to find the true source of happiness, you have to love your real nature, your true self, which is Brahman or God. And then people, okay, but how can I love my own nature, and then slowly the person is going to begin to understand how to do that, how to start to begin appreciate. And the more we appreciate, the more we love it, the more we want again and again to be in contact with it, the more we want to be in satsang or in contact with the scriptures and so on. Oh, Elizabeth, poor Elizabeth, she's hanging there waiting for me. Okay, let's hope that she's not going to be mad with me. Elizabeth.
Good morning.
Good morning, Gail. I hope you did not wait for too long.
It was okay. We have been waiting anyhow because it's everywhere is snow here.
That's why you did not show up too early today.
See?
Yes.
Everywhere is snow.
I see. Okay, good to have you here. Yeah.
Good.
So we were talking about love here because people fall in love with the world, people fall in love with objects, people fall in love with their own physical body. And then when we come to Vedanta, we learn that the real deal is to fall in love with the self, with our true nature. And then slowly, we begin valuing. And then when we see, we are totally in love with it. It is a love affair, Claudio, as you put it. It is a love affair that grows until you really got to see that you are what you love. You understand? You are what you love.
Yeah.
The scripture makes the following statements. Creation is only a small fraction of the limitless awareness, consciousness. The remainder is self-revealing. It does not depend on Sat to reveal itself. It does not depend on Maya. So this is a nice statement when it says that creation is only a small fraction of limitless conscious existence. And then whatsoever remains, which is very vast. Brahman is, it's vast, it's huge, as the word suggests. The remainder, it says that is self-revealing, you understand? And it does not depend on Maya, it does not depend on Sat in order to be revealed, because we have the impression that existence exists only through the objects. So now Maya now projects the energy matter, the universe of matter and space and energies. And then there is their phenomenon. And then we say that, okay, now the self is revealed by Maya. So the Upanishads comes back and say, no, Maya, consciousness, awareness is self-luminous, self-revealing. Whenever there is no superimposition, whenever there is no world for it to illumine and reveal, it is self-luminous. It does not depend on Maya to reveal itself. It is self-revealing, self-luminous. You understand that, Claudio? And then it goes on to say that the world is sustained by a small fraction of the self. So again, this notion that the world is just a small little thing, it's a small manifestation that happens within the limitless nature of consciousness, of Brahman. This consciousness itself pervades the world on every side and extends itself, 7 fingers beyond. I don't understand why these fingers beyond, but it means to say it extends itself towards all sides infinitely, okay? It keeps going. So if we believe that the universe is huge, it's big, so just imagine that consciousness, awareness, extends itself, beyond the universe infinitely in all directions. How about that? Because the self is limitless, non-dual, is one without an end. Although the self is a partless whole, the Upanishad speaks in terms of parts to make it easier to understand its non-dual nature to someone who is accustomed to thinking in dualistic terms. So how can you talk about the non-dual nature of the self, not using the language which is dualistic by nature, So how can we say that this manifestation does not cover the self without using the word like fraction or part of the self? No, it's just a small what? I mean, we need to use some words to point to the fact that awareness is limitless and the world is a small limit phenomenon that occurs within the scope of limitless self. And then we bring the idea of fraction or part, but it's not really that. But when we look into the screen and we look at the image project on the screen, we can see that, when you project something, you may project very small and it's going to occupy just a small fraction of the screen. So likewise, we have the mirror of consciousness reflecting, Maya reflecting thoughts and objects, and that is an infinite, vast mirror. And it's the universe is going to be reflect only in a small aspect of this mirror of conscious existence. So how are we going to use language to impart that? It's very difficult. Although the self is not made of parts or fractions, it's not fraction because none of those parts really are real. The self has no parts because nothing sticks to it. You understand? The universe does not touch, as Lin was saying. Maya and its byproduct effect, which is the cosmos, do not touch consciousness. And in the same way, although it does not touch, it does not really apparently cover the entire limitlessness of consciousness. Why? Because the universe is limited and consciousness is limitless. You understand? I'm trying to explain this point without using these words, fraction or part. Yeah? So the self is one without a second. It is limitless, is the existence and its consciousness. and the world is just a superposition that does not take the entire vastness of conscious existence. You understand? It does not take everything, and furthermore, it's just an apparent superimposition which does not leave a stain on consciousness. If we would leave a stain in consciousness, we say, okay, consciousness now is modified, and that little stain, because Maya has superimposed the universe just last week, and then now consciousness got mixed up with the universe, and there is a little stain there. No, there is no room for immaculate. Nothing touches it, like Lynn said at the beginning. Nothing that Maya can produce will ever contact consciousness. Here it says that the Upanishad uses this language due to the lack of non-dual language, and then also due to the fact that people are accustomed to reason in dualistic terms. So as we know, the language of Vedanta is a language we try our best to avoid those expressions that imply time, space, and experience. You understand? And we try to use a language based on what? Based on identity and knowledge. You understand? Rather than experience and time and space. So, but if we avoid all those words implying experience, time, and space, like a part of the whole. If we avoid all those language, the teachings more often than less, they become a little bit too vague, too abstract, and too dry for most people. We temporarily accept the idea of parts or fractions because spatial location is such a deep part of our language and our understanding, our experience, and thinking that we need to explain the relationship between awareness and Maya in a familiar language. So we need to try to explain that which is impossible, which is the relationship between consciousness and Maya. And then we have to use these funny words, such as Maya is somehow has a relationship with consciousness. It's something like it's a power inherent to consciousness, but it's not really a part of consciousness. So we get in trouble because we don't know how to say that, It's a limitation of the language. With awareness as its substrate, Maya creates the objects of the world, just as an artist draws many colored pictures on a white canvas. So we have the canvas, and then Maya picks up its brush, and starts drawing. The brush, the three energies and the five subtle elements, and then it starts configuring all these objects of creation. Okay, any question about that? Any insights?
Well, Maya would be the paint, so to speak, wouldn't it? And Ishvara would be the artist. So Maya in the form of Ishvara would be the artist.
Yeah.
And
Maya is the creator. It creates the object of the world. So in that sense, Maya is present as the artist. Is that what you say? Maya Ishvara?
No, I said Maya being Prakriti would more likely be the material, and Ishvara, the Maya, the aspect of Ishvara of Maya would be the artist. So Ishvara is the actual creator, yeah? And
Yeah,
Maya is the power to be able to create.
absolutely. Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, so a lot of this passage in this text, the author here does not make a distinction between Maya and Ishvara. And when we read Maya, we have to consider that it goes together with Ishvara. Yeah? So Maya has this power to create, yeah? But Ishvara is the one who is going to mix the colors, or mix the gunas, and start, configuring the objects of the universe. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, what I was meaning is Ishvara is the actual artist.
Yeah.
The artist. Here.
Yeah.
And Maya is the power and
Yeah.
the paints and
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, Maya, we could say that Maya, because you see, Maya is the power, and then it's the power behind Ishvara. At the same time, Maya becomes the colors that Ishvara used to draw. You understand? Because Maya is fundamentally, it is the three gunas, the three energies. It's a funny concept, understanding this another relationship, quote unquote, between Maya and Ishvara, because Maya comes first, and then the three energies come second, yeah? And then the most subtle energy, which is sattva, is what Ishvara is. Yeah? And then it said, being a pure, intelligent, and knowledge energy, it becomes the efficient or the intelligent cause of the universe. Okay, so and then Maya being Prakriti, being the three energies, and then Ishvara, which is the intelligent cause, is going to play with the colors of Maya, with the other two gunas, you understand, and mix it with itself, with Sattva guna, and then start bringing about the elements of in their subtle formation. So who controls, who produces, who has more power, Maya or Ishvara? It's something that some people like to discuss about that, because Ishvara is clearly a byproduct of this power called Maya. But then at the same time is this Sattva guna, this pure Sattva, that has the power to project, to create, intelligent, designed, create, and sustain through its laws. It's designed and sustained through its laws. It's all part of this nature of Maya, which is Prakriti, but it's the intelligent nature of Prakriti, meaning to say pure Sattva guna. So this is an interesting conversation, but it's not really relevant. We know that Ishvara is our hero, because we owe so much to the Lord, who has this total knowledge and intelligence to sustain us and to create us with the power that comes from Maya, but to design in such a nice way and sustain it and doing so much for us. So I don't know about you guys. I have more affinity towards Ishvara than towards Maya, because Maya has a bad reputation as well in our circle, because it's said to be a vidya as well, which is
because somehow Maya is the evil one, somehow.
The great illusionist, the trickist.
Yeah, so it's funny to see that Maya and Ishvara are at the end of the same thing, but Maya is the bad one and Ishvara is our hero.
Yeah.
Well, but it's not so funny, because Mitya has attributes. And so Maya and Ishvara have attributes.
Yeah.
And you could be attracted to certain attributes and more than others, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. When we say that Maya is it's intelligent, beautiful ignorance, we point to the fact that it's intelligent as pure sattva, and then it is beautiful, because it projects such an incredible wonder, called the universe, and and it is ignorance because of Thomas. It somehow it produces jivas with a certain limitation in terms of knowledge, So it is ignorance from the standpoint of the jiva, but it is pure intelligence. So it's beautiful, intelligent ignorance. So howsoever we want to look at Maya. So we owe much to Mr. Maya as well, because it's the powerful Maya, as Gita says in the Bhagavad Gita, or Krishna says, he says, as consciousness, he says, by the power of my Maya, I'm going to dilute all my jivas, So it's a huge power, the power of Maya. And then after that, he regrets that he has diluted all jivas. And then he comes in and he starts looking for some people and whispering the Vedas to the rishis. So to help the jivas to come out of that samsara, that condition of being totally deluded by Maya. With awareness as its substrate, Maya creates the objects of the world, just as an artist draws many colored pictures on a white canvas. Summary of the inquiry into Maya. So a little bit review here. If you understand existence and existence, two, Maya, you don't need Vedanta. This is a statement of Swami Paramarthananda. So in that, I would change those words to make it more understandable. He probably meant to say, if you understand consciousness, and if you understand Ishvara, and then you understood everything that needs to be understood. You understand? So Maya there goes more for Ishvara, because as we know, that to understand Ishvara and its laws and the way we should live in this apparent order of reality is instrumental, it's fundamental. At the same time, we need to understand also consciousness, existence as the substratum of the universe, of Jagat. So if we understand Ishvara, and if we understand conscious existence as the fundamental nature, the substratum of Jagata, Jiva, Jagata, and then we understood all we need, because you understand the point here. A lot of people want to understand consciousness and wants to claim, I am consciousness, I understand consciousness. It's very simple, in fact. But if they don't understand Maya Ishvara, they are often in very big trouble, because they don't know how to transact in the world of Maya Ishvara. You understand? So you need to understand Maya Ishvara so that you can keep your clear mind, your pacified mind, a scientific mind. If you don't understand Maya Ishvara, you're going to be just running into conflict again and again. You don't understand the laws of Mithya and the laws of Ishvara, and then you don't know how to behave. And then when you see, you have a disturbed mind, and that disturbed mind is not going to hold this, understand, I am conscious existence, you understand? You need to have a clear mind. The best way to keep a clear mind is to understand Maya Ishvara, and then by becoming a good Kama Yoga, yogi, you just keep that perspective, seeing everything as the creator, and then you understand consciousness, and you were good because you understood Maya, Ishvara as well. Huh? Is that clear, Mark? Anything else to say?
You could also change the words, if you understand self and not self, you don't need Vedanta. So you could also put it in those two words.
Yeah, but then there's a different meaning. If you understand if you understand Satya and Mithya, and then you don't need Vedanta. Yeah, if you understand the subject and object, Satya and Mithya, then you don't need anymore. You understood everything that needs to be understood. But here we are. The point here is, if you understood Satya as conscious existence, and Ishvara, my Ishvara, as the creator, and to understand the creator, although the creator is again an object, is still Mithya, you understand? But it's fundamental to be understood. We need to understand Ishvara. A lot of people want to throw God, Ishvara, into the being, you understand? Because it's Mithya. But Vedanta says, no, you need to really understand Ishvara. It's the key for self-knowledge, is to understand the apparent Maya Ishvara, although it is Mithya. You understand? Mark?
Okay, you were breaking up a bit then, Arlind. I didn't hear you correctly. Can you just repeat that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm saying that that it's slightly different. If you understand Satya Mithya, subject and object, and then you are at very good point. You understood. You know you are Satya, and everything that appears to you is Mithya. You know you're the subject, and everything that it can be seen, experienced, and known is just an object, and therefore is the not self, self and not self, as you said. So that is a very important tool, the most fundamental tool of Vedanta. But there is another saying that says that you need to understand also Ishvara, my Ishvara, which is an aspect of Mithya. You understand? So you need to understand Satya, the self, and you need to understand Ishvara, my Ishvara, not just to say, oh, it is Mithya, not self. But really understand it in its Mithya nature, you understand? As the Lord, with all its laws and rules and structure, dharmas, and so on. Karma laws. Slightly different.
Yeah, I understand.
We experience differences. From that, it is clear that the world is different from existence. So Sat, Vilakshanam, we experience differences. From that, it's clear the world is different from existence. Existence is one without a second, is not made out of parties, and it is attributeless. There are no different, there is no single inclusion, there is not even a small stain within consciousness. Is pure, meaning to say there's nothing other than itself. There is nothing mixed up with it. So when you try to understand the world of chemistry and metallurgy and so on, you understand there is nothing in this universe that is 100% pure, because there is always some impurity, some inclusions there. Consciousness is the only absolutely pure, free of any inclusion. So if you understand difference, it means to say that there are different inclusions there, attributes, qualities, modifications, variations, or parts. And then from the fact that we experience the world of difference, from that, it's clear to us that the world is something other than Sat, my true nature, because my true nature is free of parts, attributes, and difference. It's clear that the world is not non-existent either. It's clear that the world, is not non-existent. So we know it exists because we experience the world. We cannot say that the world does not exist because we experience it. We cannot experience something that does not exist. A square a circle is non-existent. So when we say a square circle, so we are just saying, no, there isn't such a thing. It is a square or it's a circle, okay? And then we know this is absolutely a sat. It's non-existent, okay? So the world is something different from a sat, which is non-existent, and sat existence. So the world is not something like, the, how you say the word, the shiftless, hunters,
Antlers.
the antlers of a butterfly, that we know it does not exist, okay? We know it does not exist. The world is not like that because it does exist, but it's not sat. It's not real existence. Huh? So what is this world? The world is a mixture of non-experienceable consciousness and experienceable consciousness. This is very beautifully put. Huh? So the world is a mixture of non-experienced consciousness, because consciousness is not an object of experience, but it's always there as the substratum of the world, right? But it's not experienceable. And it is mixed up with matter, prakriti, which is experienceable aspect of consciousness. No, it is consciousness, but due to this superimposition, by the power of Maya. And then we have matter/energy producing what we call phenomenal objects. When phenomenal object comes into play, and then we have what? We have existence of phenomenon. So when we talk in terms of such existence, we most of the time we refer to the matter manifest aspect of consciousness. So how we identify the existence of the material inert world, all the inert objects. How do we identify conscious existence of the physical material inert world? We identify by what? By the fact that they exist as matter, as a name and a form, you understand? And it's made out of matter. We see the existence. And this existence, it is the experienceable aspect of consciousness, okay? But within the experienceable aspect of consciousness, there is the non-experienceable aspect of consciousness, which is the substratum of all inert objects. Yes, Lynn? Yes, Lynn, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask you to start over because the very beginning of that was, you were being interrupted, but I caught up. So it's okay.
Okay.
I caught up. Thanks.
Yeah, today the internet is poor because it has been raining so badly. The only reason I have not missed any one of these classes is because I got my solar panel system here. I got it mostly thinking about a class, because most people here, they lose power and then they lose the internet together with the power, of course, you understand? Power goes off very often because it's raining much more than usual this year here. But the internet is a little bit weak. So the world is a mixture of non-experienceable consciousness and experienceable consciousness. For knowledge of the world, you need perception. For knowledge of existence, you need Vedanta. So in order to know the Sat aspect, the sat aspect of the world, the material world, that which is perceivable by the five senses and the mind, we need science, let's say, and we need the five senses. So knowledge of the world, we need the perception. We need to say our five senses and the inferential knowledge produced by the mind. So for knowledge of the world, we need perception. But to know the existence of the world, which means the substratum of the world, the fundamental nature of the world, we need the Upanishads, right? Why? Because if we go through perception and inference, we are going to know all these phenomenal objects. We are in the field of science. So I have a scientific knowledge of the world through the five senses and whatsoever field of knowledge. But if I want to know the existence of the physical world, the real existence, not the name, not the form, and not the properties of this object, but if I want to know the existence, which is the fundamental nature of all objects, and then we need Upanishads. That's what it says. Neither one can negate the other because they deal with different orders of reality, meaning to say the Upanishads is not going to negate the world, and the world or the world or the five senses and the mind cannot negate consciousness either. You understand? We have the world. What is the pramana to know the world? The five senses, perception and inference. So, and then we have consciousness, and then what is the pramana to know consciousness is the Upanishads. So none of these means of knowledge, both of these two means of knowledge, they are not going to cancel, or they are not going to contradict one another. Okay, so they are not going to negate one another. Why? Because they belong to two different orders of reality. One can be accessed by perception and inference, and the other can be accessed by the Upanishads. You understand? Two pramanas. So the world is known by the five sense organs and in the mind, perception and inference, and self is known by a different pramana, which is not the five sense and inference, but it is called Vedanta. So Vedanta is never going to be able, Upanishads is never going to be able to cancel Mithya, and will never make an attempt to negate Mithya, because it understands. Upanishads was revealed knowledge from the Lord Ishvara, and understands, don't mess up with Mithya, because there is no point. It's just almost as good as non-existent, because it's just a mirage. You understand? And we cannot do anything about that, because even if we mess up with it and we prove its apparent reality, its apparent realities are going to persist. So it's two orders of reality that cannot be negated one another. So Vedanta pramana is not going to negate the world, and the knowledge of perception, inference can never negate consciousness or true nature, reality. The left eye sees one thing, the right eye another thing. What one sees does not contradict what the other eye sees. Both are valid means of knowledge. The difference, so we have perception inference that looks out, and then we have Vedanta that somehow, quote unquote, looks in, to find its fundamental essence, the nature of the mind, of the intellect. So one looks in one direction, one looks in the other direction. What one eye sees, the other does not contradict with the other eye sees. So I have perception inference to see the world, and Mithya does not contradict Satya. Okay, and then I have another eyes, which is my third eyes, which is the Vedanta pramana, to see and understand my nature as consciousness. Both are valid means of knowledge, they don't cancel. The difference experienced by perception cannot be negated by the Upanishad, and the difference experienced by perception cannot be negated by the Upanishad, and I would say, and the non-dual nature of consciousness cannot be negated by the intellect, by thought, by perception and inference. Perception and inference cannot negate the non-dual nature of consciousness, okay? So the world exists in a different category, a different order of reality. It neither is nor it is not. It is both. It's both dual and non-dual. This is the idea of mithya. This is very interesting as well. It's nice. It's neither is non-exist or it is existent, but it is apparently existing, and or it is both dual and non-dual. So what kind of statement is this one? The world is dual and non-dual. So it's dual when we look at it at the surface, because there will be so many different configurations, and there will be the fundamental duality, the subject, Jiva Atma, and the objects appearing to the Jiva, subject, object. So the world is both. Is dual when we see the world through perception and inference, okay? When we see the world through perception and inference, and then the world is duality, is dual, subject, object, and infinite configurations of objects. But when we see the world through the eyes of the Upanishads, the world is non-dual. Why? Because we have the Vedantic vision of the substratum of mithya. So we see the world by seeing its fundamental nature, its substract. So the world is non-dual consciousness, as we say, appearing as duality or plurality, as we prefer. That's what it means. This is what mithya is. It's a mixture of experienceable consciousness and non-experienceable consciousness. Okay, we have gone over a little bit today. I hope you don't mind. And we meet again soon, in the next few days. Thursday is good. Thursday is not party time. Party time is in the 31st, that everybody goes dancing. Happy New Year! And Sylvia said it's too late for us to go partying on the 31st.
We already did it.
Okie dokie. Nice meeting you. I enjoyed this satsang with you. And we will begin from, it's in the middle of this. I will make a mark here for me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purna Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. Namaste. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Namaste.
Arrivederci.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.